For anybody watching.
If you're feeling uncomfortable, imagine how often and how regularly the person you're trying to stand up for feels that way, and they don't even say anything to initiate it. They just are, and someone's attacking them for who they are without even being provoked.
Welcome to Invite Sent. We are a live streaming show where we interview people and play video games.
Help is on the way, dear.
Did he make it in? Did he get all 20? Yes, way to go. If you'd like to be on Invite Sent, be interviewed, and play video games, please go to bubbagatter.com and request to be on the show. And I'll let you know if the invite is sent. Yeah, get him.
There you go.
Welcome to Invite Sent. Boom! It's an issue with our industry for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Bubba, being in the fighting game community is a hot take for anybody watching.
If you're feeling uncomfortable, imagine how often and how regularly the person you're trying to stand up for feels that way, and they don't even say anything to initiate it. They just are, and someone's attacking them for who they are without even being provoked.
Welcome to Invite Sent. We are a live streaming show where we interview people and play video games. All right, welcome. Did he make it in? Did he get all 20?
Hello,
yes, way to go.
hello.
If you'd like to be on Invite. Hello and welcome. Good morning, gamers. Good morning, gamers. Hello. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Bubba. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. We've had a fun few weeks here at the beginning of the new year. We had Chris Turner play on the Rave Esports show with us and play some Fortnite. Last 2 weeks ago, yesterday, we had on the show the Neutric guy, Mark from Neutric, and we talked about all sorts of stuff that you need in esports labs when it comes to connectors. Not just esports labs, but obviously they use it in church settings and everywhere else for connectors for digital space. But today we got two shows today. Our first show, both shows are going to talk about some books. And this is the third time we've had somebody on the show talking about a book in the gaming and esports space. Last week we had Ben Halpert from Savvy Cyber Kids, who actually has a parent's guide that's super, super important. I think is very, very valuable as a parent and as someone who advocates for all this stuff in the gaming and esports space when it comes to screen time and healthy moderation. But today, we've got a very awesome guest who has written an amazing book called The Comprehensive Guide to Esports Fundamentals. I'm going to bring on our guest, Mr. P.J. Bannon. How are you today, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Bubba? Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. This is fun. I think we've only chatted maybe on LinkedIn once or twice and then probably in comments before, but it's good to meet you, and I'm excited. I've reviewed your book a little bit, but I want to get people to see it firsthand so they can pick it up and use it, because man, there's a lot of teachers and educators out there and first-time coaches who need something to help them, because there's there is very little and limited out there for information on what to do, and it's a lot of us just grasping at straws, as well as teachers who were just said, "Hey, you could be a coach. You know how to play games, or you know computers, or you're the IT person. Why don't
Yeah.
you?" That's a very common thing in school. So I want to jump into the book you wrote, but I do want to ask you first, what was the first video game you ever played?
First video game I ever played. That's a great question. Oh man, my grandparents had an SNES.
Okay.
And I don't remember what the first one was, but they had a small selection. One was a really interesting skateboarding game that was definitely not age appropriate for me.
Uh-huh.
One was, definitely
Skate
some
or Die?
Mario involved. I'm not going to remember the name if you say it out loud, but I just
Uh-huh.
remember I should not have been playing it. But one of my first memories of gaming was I got a Sega Genesis early on.
Yes.
And I was playing, I think it was Sonic and Knuckles. It was one of the Sonic iterations. And there's a home video of this where
Uh-huh.
I play through the first level. I almost get to the end and then I lose.
Yeah.
And I just like frustratingly like turn off the console. I'm like, well, I'm done for now, So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome. I was a Sega Genesis guy for sure.
Nice.
And Sonic was by far my thing. If you're out there on TikTok right now, you're watching. I know a bunch of folks are joining right now. If you're there, please jump in the chat. What is the first video game you played out there in the chat? We've got people on Twitter and Facebook and Twitch and LinkedIn and Kick and YouTube. What is the first game? Like somebody else, Sega Genesis, Super NES for sure. What game did you play probably the most growing up?
Oh man, the most growing up. I was always kind of a party gamer more than I was a single player storyline gamer.
Uh-huh.
I played a few throughout my time, like God of War or whatever, but
Ooh.
I think Super Smash Brothers was overall my most
Wow.
played game, maybe with people.
Yeah.
Also a lot of Rock Band. When that came out, that was like a primary game for a long time with me and my friends.
Yeah.
So a lot of that.
Karen on LinkedIn says Pac-Man. That's for sure. That's for
Played
sure.
a bunch of that,
Pac-Man.
yeah.
Yeah. Let me pull that up so you can see it. Pac-Man. All right, Karen. What games are you playing right now, though, Karen? This is Pac-Man. Okay. Okay. Great. Now, is there a game you're like into right now?
Yeah, I'm really into Dark and Darker, which is
Ooh,
probably a game a
what is
lot
that?
of people haven't heard of.
Yeah.
So the most popular game in the genre is called Escape from Tarkov.
Okay. Yes.
And this is kind of Escape from Tarkov, but like a medieval setting. And I know that like kind of makes it sound weird, but it is one of the best games I've ever played. The
Okay.
developers are incredible. They care about the game so much and they communicate so much about what's happening, and it's a great game to be involved with.
Okay. I'm gonna check this out here. Dark and Darker.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's a very small, gaming community, I think, but really excellent game. Probably top 5 games of all time for me at this point.
Okay, nice. Justin Early says Atari 2600. Okay, with the old school Pong for sure. Dark and Darker. Okay, I've got it muted.
He got killed by the train.
Yeah, definitely keep it muted.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going to show up on these videos,
Justin's playing Pokemon Unite right now.
Great game, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do like Pokemon Unite. Actually, my kids like it. It's very much the fun, cheaper, non-toxic League of Legends game. That's what I would
Definitely.
consider
It's
it.
a great, starter MOBA for a lot of people. I think one thing I used to do in my esports classes when I was a teacher at a high school, I had an esports analysis class. We would play some games and then learn how to analyze the genre. Pokemon Unite was the primary MOBA that I had everyone download because everyone had a Switch or they could do the mobile version. So it was
right.
really accessible for all my students.
Joey Bannon says it was fun. I wonder if he's talking about League of Legends or Pokemon Unite. Joey, which Pokemon Unite? Yeah, probably. This is okay. Dark and Darker. Okay, is it a remake, or is there?
No.
Okay.
It's an original game. Honestly, I would not recommend it for most people. Because it's really hard. One thing about the game is that the first mob that you see, players typically will lose to that mob immediately. The first one. It's a really hard game. So if you don't like being bad at a game, I wouldn't recommend it. But I enjoy struggling with the game and not really knowing why, and then kind of digging into why I'm struggling. So that's why Dark and Darker really appealed to me.
Michael is asking, is it a Korean game? Maybe?
Yes,
No, it
yes,
it
it
is.
is.
Okay. Korean game. All right. Okay. Dark and Darker. Nice. All right. Well, there seems to be a lot of folks here, especially in the esports space, that are checking in right now. And for those of you out there, is anybody coaching esports right now, or is anybody in the gaming space? Let me know if you're working. I know, Karen, you have a lot to say about what's happening in the esports space right now. And you know what? She lives in New York as well. So you guys might connect. PJ Bannon, here is from... oh, Michael says, I'm not asking. I live in Korea. Well, coincidence. Coincidence there, Michael. Well, great, man. Glad you're here. Yes.
How you doing, Mike?
Karen will definitely want to connect with you. I'll make sure I tag you guys on a DM here later. But she's doing some amazing stuff for schools and esports. But those of you who are out there, if you're esports, this is the episode to be on today because PJ has written this amazing book called The Comprehensive Guide to Esports Fundamentals. What is the catalyst for writing this book?
You know, you kind of covered it in the intro, and I'm really glad you did.
Oh, okay.
There's so many people who are thrown into esports who have no idea what they're doing. And that's just kind of the nature of the esports blow up in the education scene, right? They take the IT guy and they say, you look at a computer sometimes, you must esport, go ahead.
Yes.
And there's so much material out there for how to run an esports program. You know, how to get it started, how to get kids involved with, you know, the certain like your guide with Generation, I believe, for streaming and stuff. Great. So glad that exists. What doesn't exist is a guide for coaches to help their players improve at the sport of esports. So I really wanted that to exist, you know, because when you're, you know, if you're younger or you have young kids and you're involved with a soccer league and some random parent is coaching this league, right? They don't have all this experience, but there's just these drills and these fundamentals that are just so known throughout soccer that they can just teach these kids. And now those are not really established for esports. And so a lot of athletes aren't getting these fundamental skills that are required to get to this higher level of play. So I wanted to kind of help establish that. And, you know, coming from an education background, I thought I had a nice perspective that a lot of YouTube videos don't cover with this sort of thing, because they generally will analyze professional play.
Yes.
And say what they're doing is good. And that's true. But sometimes you need the building blocks to get to that point, and a lot of places don't cover that.
Yeah, I like this, PJ. This is a definite reason. Coach Alney Connor and he's got this book here, 100 Jobs in Esports. If you guys have ever checked it out, we sat down in 2020, and he was a college coach. As well, and he was commissioner of High School Esports League, and he started a collegiate league back in Iowa or something. But we noticed there was there wasn't something out there that helped the educators who got thrown into it. And honestly, there's some sports coaches who get thrown into stuff, but they actually have, I feel, more training than a math teacher might when it comes to working with teams for schools. Because they're not getting, like, the math teacher isn't getting the same training that a football coach might get on those extra sessions, and even, to be honest, past just the bullying and stuff that's out there for all teachers. And so we sat down, we created a course because we wanted these coaches to understand what Discord was and what practices look like. But I love that you really go into really a lot of depth and information beyond just this like 30,000 foot level look. And if you guys are out there in the chat, I put the link to this book for Amazon. You can get it $9.99 right now on Kindle. If you go to the link on Amazon, The Comprehensive Guide to Esports Fundamentals by PJ Bannon. And there is also in the description of the video is the link there as well if you need to find it. So here it is on Amazon. I wanna jump into the table of contents, and
Sure.
I want you definitely. Can you walk me through kind of what we're gonna learn, and who are your other authors here as well? Looks like a couple maybe.
Right. This is Dr. Tom, Dr. Amy Siz.
Okay.
They are optometrists, and they
Okay.
got involved with the world of esports, and they work with Fit Gamer, which is
Okay. Yeah.
they work with Cloud9 with all
Mhm.
their athletes and subsidiaries. Yeah.
And you were doing stuff with Cloud9 and Fit Gamer in the past as well.
Yeah, correct. And
Yeah.
actually, me and Dr. Tom
Uh-huh.
met separately from that. Funny enough, and then it kind of just worked out that we were both doing stuff with Cloud9 and Fit Gamer at some point. So
Okay. Yeah, the Fit Gamer folks are awesome.
yeah, it's great.
Okay, so yep, so does Karen. So she likes him as well. They're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so part one. So I mean, if you were gonna describe this book to someone and what it kind of breaks down, what is your elevator speech for it?
Whew. Great question. It goes very deep into the basics for
Okay.
someone who doesn't know anything about esports.
Okay.
And one thing I do that might be confusing for some people, I really dig into the tactical shooter, first-person shooter genre.
Great.
But I do it for the reason of getting deep enough to understand the idea behind improving in esports.
Mhm.
It's not that this guide is only for first-person shooters, but in order to really get the concepts, you really need to dig into a certain game to kind of see the patterns and the thought processes that make it work.
Okay, I love it. So this part one, you're talking about tactical shooters. Yeah, okay.
Right.
So I mean, you're going down as far as the flashbang. All right.
Yeah.
Let's take a look here into chapter one, because
Sure.
I definitely want to learn about the in-game economy. So this isn't this is where I struggle with Valorant. I struggle with Valorant and CS:GO. I've only played CS:GO maybe twice, but Valorant I just that looks pretty. I'm gonna buy that, and then I am told and yelled at, why did you buy that right now? Because you could have saved your money for the next round.
Yeah.
So in-game economy is important, and for what reasons besides what I just told?
That's one of the things that I would consider slightly beyond fundamental, actually. I think that's what this paragraph actually covers. So you picked a very specific one where I
Okay.
say, hey, make sure you know this is a thing, but it's actually a little deeper
Sure.
than we can cover in this book.
I love that. Well, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
'cause,
And that's go ahead.
when you have the economy system of a game, it's really complex, right? And it is very hard to understand when to buy certain things. And that's kind of not the idea of this guide. Because when you get into a specific game, the economy is different than other games, and
Mhm.
you have to have like kind of
Yeah.
different considerations. So I'm really approaching this overall improvement with FPS games rather than specific economy management in a specific game.
I'm loving this. I'm gonna go back to the table of contents, because I do like these fundamental approaches, because this would help so many of our first year, if not second year coaches.
Yeah.
Lag, keybind sensitivity, coming to what you talk about, peripherals and megahertz, gigahertz, all sorts of stuff for computer screens. I really appreciate that, because not only is there a need for understanding that, because a lot of people don't, but the terminology, I think, is what you're really collapsing in here, is the terminology that I think is not. You're gonna learn a ton of stuff from your kids in the clubs.
Yeah.
But this terminology helps you, give you a leg up, just like knowing the cool new term that they're using on TikTok, I would think.
Totally. And also on that same note, the very last thing in the book is a glossary of terms.
I saw. That's right. That's what reminded me of it. Okay.
That has like very
Yes.
specific definitions of things you might have heard or not heard and should know exist if you're new to the space.
I do remember this was the most exciting thing about this book for me, was knowing there is someone who'd taken the time to actually do this, because this terminology is on 20 different websites to find them all, and in one spot is amazing. Karen says, yes, like you said, they make someone a coach because they play a game. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they
Ego
just
peak.
assume they play a game. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very, very helpful. Gosh, game phase, fundamental skill, gunfight, headshot. Do you have, what's the terminology? What's the one that everybody hates when they do the head peek? Is that what it's called? Head peek? Or
Like
head
shoulder
glitch?
peek?
Head glitch, maybe?
Oh, I don't have head glitch in there necessarily,
Uh-huh.
because that can be a
Uh-huh.
little game dependent too. But I do have
Yeah.
like shoulder peeking, which is
Nice. Okay. All right. So when we get through fundamentals,
Mhm.
we have the micro skill, micro and macro skills.
Yeah,
Okay, crouching, shoulder peeking, just like you said. Let's go to page 42. I'd like to learn about that.
sure. It
Um,
may not be like 42 in the PDF, but
Sure.
you know.
Sure. Ooh, you even got the Valorant map. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
love
do
that.
this whole piece on general
Oh,
map nomenclature and specific map nomenclature.
wow.
Because it's important to know if you don't know a map, you can still make pretty exact location calls.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of knowing how to do that, I think, is an important skill.
Yeah, there's a ton of. I mean, you're talking about blue light. You're talking about health and wellness. Taking a game break. To use the. This is a gamer doc. I mean, 20 rule. 20 every 20 minutes. Look 20 feet away for 20 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely covered in here.
Nice. Karen says well, tell your district about this book. It's probably the same district that PJ might live in. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna connect you guys. Yeah, this is a okay, peeking techniques. Let's go to, I think, shoulder peeking. Shoulder peeking is a technique of gaining visual information while presenting the smallest possible amount of your character model or hitbox. I agree. Well, I guess that I play a lot of Fortnite, right? So they're all right-handed, right?
Mhm.
So you're trying to look around an edge or a tree on the right-hand side. Was less, you would see less of your body, I would guess, compared to looking around the left side of a tree. That's my guess from when I play.
Yeah, I know there's something like that with the Fortnite kind of not quite first person view where they have that like kind of overhead view. Yeah, the right side shoulder peak versus left side. Yeah.
So I'm just seeing tons and tons of stuff here that is extremely helpful. I mean, I think students
that
would
right there
benefit
you're
from
looking
this.
at is
Yeah.
a full aim training routine
Okay.
to help you tackle all the different parts of aiming that are not generally covered in like an aiming warm up or something. So
Okay.
I think aim training is a big part of FPS, and so I cover kind of step by step how to get better at aiming intentionally with an aim training routine. When I was playing CS:GO pretty seriously, I would have a 45-minute aim training routine and then 45 minutes of a deathmatch,
Sure.
and then I would hop into the game. I did
Okay.
that every day for who knows how long.
Wow. Well, that's really what pros are doing, right? They're warming up for a while until they actually get into their matches.
Oh,
Okay.
totally. And you know, one thing I cover that's really important that that you kind of vaguely brought up there, some professionals may disagree with some things that I say in this book.
Okay.
But we need to remember that they don't come from a background of education in esports when we were
Right.
younger.
Right.
And one thing one line I have in the book is that nothing beats experience, but focused intentional experience far outweighs mindless thousands of hours of grinding.
Yes. Okay, so when you're talking to a school or some students or your team, what's that pep talk then on that topic you just said? You gave a really good T-shirt idea, or just then, which I think would be good for an esports T-shirt. So how do you then enforce that, create opportunities for that? What do you tell your students beyond that really great phrase?
Just in terms of like training hours, like you know, it's that is another great question because I coach students as young as 12 years old, as old as I don't even know some of the Cloud9 people.
Yeah.
And I find that the younger kids really struggle to see the value in intentional training, and they
Sure.
really just want to play the game.
Yeah.
And I understand that. So I find that the best time to do structured training is when you're in a structured team practice and you're like the established coach, right? I think that having younger students by themselves do a routine, I think realistically is not going to happen very often. So I think it's your job as a coach to really kind of, I don't want to say make a game of it, but make it seem fun and exciting to practice these very specific fundamentals. Get them doing things properly versus just doing things a lot until they're good.
I love that, man. We've got about 10 minutes here left. Proper weapon switching. YouTubers tell me to not reload, but to switch to the pistol. I think also that's probably something people in the military do. Is that the right? When you're talking about switching, maybe it's how you switch from your rolly wheel to a number. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I am more specifically talking about, using the scroll wheel is less precise than pressing a button to switch your weapon. But also on that point, I don't specifically cover reloading versus switching to pistol, but just off, the top of my head, it really depends on the situation. But switching to pistol is going to be really effective sometimes versus taking the time to reload.
I hope this was good advice. I was telling another buddy of mine who plays Fortnite, or it might have been my son, my middle son, that my keybinds, I think that's what it was, a buddy who was playing Call of Duty, and he's like, yeah, I tried to play Fortnite, but the keybinds are different. Well, one, just match your keybinds, what you're consistent with. And then two, I started on Call of Duty, instead of having number 1, number 2 as gun 1, gun 2, I just made number 1 and number 2 have the ability to just switch to your other weapon regardless of which one you hit, because you wind up hitting the wrong button sometimes. It's like, man, why don't you just make number 1 and number 2 the same command of switch between your two guns? And he's like, wow, I never thought of that. So hopefully that's a tool out there for you kids to be able to switch faster and more accurately.
If it's a precise switching, then it's good. I think a scroll wheel can get really crazy sometimes. That's why I recommend against it.
I think it's what he was talking about, was because Fortnite has 5 options, and I think I watched like Ninja or Nick A30 and said they had caps lock, or maybe even Cypher PK. Caps lock was his number 4 slot, and Alt was his 5th slot. So now I just have 1, 2, 3 caps and Alt instead of 4 and 5, which might be further away from the W key. So
and it's those considerations that are really important sometimes for a lot of people.
People have L and F and G as their other guns as well, and it's important. They're obviously building with other things. So gunfights now I've seen a lot of Valorant in this Valorant CSGO. Is that where a lot of this, when I look at this diagram, this looks like a Valorant or a CSGO option rather than people running into a building at Fortnite? Is that more accurate, my understanding?
I think it actually really does apply to games like Fortnite and PUBG more so than you might think. Because generally you don't look at the building layouts or wherever you are, any geometry layouts in Fortnite and PUBG in the same way that you look at them in Valorant or CSGO. But if you're playing Fortnite, this is a situation that exists, and the whole point of the section that we're looking at now is that a lot of people will position their character model in a place that is exposed to too many different angles. And it's a real good way to get fragged out really quickly. So the whole point of the section is the image didn't come out the best, but as you can see in the middle there, if your character model is directly in the middle of that room, you are far too exposed. Now the intention of this graphic was actually for that box to be a little bit bigger, but what's named as the best position in the top right corner, the idea is that you're supposed to only be exposed to one enemy at a time, right? Because if you're in a 1v3, you want to take 3 separate 1v1s. You don't want to take a 1v3, and you have to find a way to do that. And being directly in the center is not the way to do that.
Not for the one guy on our team. The one guy. Have you seen those TikToks and reels of which one of your friends is this? The guy that runs in like
exactly.
Leroy Jenkins on World of Warcraft.
Precisely.
So then we have this is more of a shoulder peek look.
I believe this is just considering the position at which you start to be in danger,
Okay.
and then you
Okay.
should always consider that an enemy might be there. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't consider that, and just kind of expose
You
themselves.
had a really good graph of the where do you line up your crosshairs right here. I totally have been doing that a lot more ever since someone said why aren't you doing that? Because
Yeah.
yeah, your center mass is not helpful. So definitely coming. I think it's from Valorant and CS:GO is a lot more of why people are getting better at that. Um,
Totally.
and I totally agree with the need to start there. Okay, so yeah, you have a lot of so I love that you have these diagrams that are helpful. And so you
Yeah.
said most of this is FPS, more shooter games
Yeah,
that you're
yeah,
heavy
and definitely
here.
applies to, like, some things apply to Overwatch, maybe not quite as much, maybe more in the, like, specific mouse and keyboard control-based
Hmm.
things, but yeah, applies pretty much all around FPS.
So now you have some games, some practices. Okay,
Yeah.
this is what you said. This is true. I've gone overseas and taught some soccer camps. So when you talked about soccer drills, yeah,
Yeah.
I could just come up and write stuff on a piece of paper and say, okay, you four, let's all have stations, and we're all going to teach this passing drill or shooting drill. So here you've got that in the sense of we're going to work on a drill strat. Okay, okay, nice.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's a bunch of different techniques that you can practice with a team, and the reasons why you're doing them.
Okay. Peak battle. Okay.
Peak
Then
battle is
engage.
one of the most effective ones. I had a Rainbow Six team where this is where the peak battle was born. The Rainbow Six team, they were all silver or bronze rank,
Mm-hmm.
and by the end of the season, they were all like high platinum. So one thing that they did, we would get at opposite ends of a hallway,
Okay.
and just slowly peek each other, have a little
Uh-huh.
peek battle, and
Uh-huh.
just doing that for hours at a
Wow.
time. What
Wow.
it does is it builds patience and it builds crosshair
Mm-hmm.
placement. Things that these players at the bronze and silver level were not considering.
Yeah.
But after so many peak battles against each other, learning what the efficient way to carefully peek an angle is really
Mm-hmm.
taught them how to play a lot better in those situations in a live game.
Wow. That's right. Somebody says horse. Yeah, horse is okay. Obviously, knockout horse or these games. So this, how does one play horse with FPS?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing with a
Oh,
lot of games is the utility placement is rather difficult. So,
yeah.
grenades are very important. Where they
Mm-hmm.
hit is very important. And so, the whole idea, as you can imagine, just from that alone, is one player hits a spot with their utility,
Mm-hmm.
other players hit the same spot or do the same thing, whatever it,
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
Man, this is very, very impressive. Very well thought out. Um,
Thank you.
I think there needs to be this needs to be promoted. We're all. Hey, Dennis. Hey, great. We'll see you in a little bit here on the next show. We got another book coming up here in about an hour or less. What
Great.
what where are you promoting this? How do we get this to meet more people? What do you want to do? How are you doing it so far?
Right now it's just been word of mouth, just LinkedIn posts from me, general Amazon advertising. I'm really not much of a marketing guy, so I
Uh-huh.
don't really know much more than that, to be honest. But yeah, right now just LinkedIn shout outs, word of mouth.
Okay, so guys, we've got the comprehensive guide to esports fundamentals. The link is in the chat. Thank you guys all for being here, chiming in. Definitely Karen and Michael and Joey and Justin and Dennis. I really love this book. I really want to get this in more people's hands. Let's talk and try to. Would you be open to getting this to some esports leagues for them to promote?
Oh, totally. And one
Okay.
one thing I want to do is, for the cost of printing, I want to get this book to educational spaces. I'm not looking to make major profit off of this. I just
Mm-hmm.
want this information out there. I think it's really
Mm-hmm.
important to esports. Um,
I agree.
so yeah, literally cost of printing, maybe even shipping if we're feeling generous.
Uh-huh.
Um, get it out there. If you have an esports education space, reach out to me. We
Mm-hmm.
will get you the book. I just want it out there.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna give you the hot seat. for 60 seconds to promote your book and talk about what you ever want, and you're on the screen alone, and here you go.
Great. Yeah, this book I wrote for the purpose of educating coaches and players in the way that I think is really, really important to the growth of esports all around. So, younger kids, they don't have the opportunity to really learn how to build fundamentals for themselves and learn how to play games properly. They play games for a long time. They don't play games for a structured time. And so this book really guides coaches and players on how to do that effectively to reach those higher levels of play and understanding.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, PJ, thank you for coming today to share this information. I definitely, if I'm coaching in the future, this is going to be one of my go-tos.
Thank you.
I will definitely. I think I added this to the VEF. Let me double check here. If you guys are looking for the link as well on any resources, you can go to PJ's LinkedIn. We've also got it on our book list here for the Video Games and Esports Foundation under Tools and Guides right here. Comprehensive Guide of Esports Fundamentals. You can get the book on Amazon right now on Kindle. It's $9.99. Please check it out. I'm excited to see how this goes over this year and how we can get it in front of more people, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on the show and pushing out this book like this.
Well, BJ, thanks, man. You feel free to hang out in the control room, and I'll come check in with you here in a minute, and I'm going to shut down the show. Cool.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for episode 6 of season 3 of Good Morning Gamers. We're just here in about less than an hour. Let's see, the show's going to start at 10 Central, 11 Eastern. We're going to have Dennis Buchanan on. He's going to talk about his book as well. We're going to have, I'm just got it last night. I'm going to check it out. And please go check out PJ Bannon's book, The Comprehensive Guide to Esports Fundamentals. Karen, thanks so much for being here. Yes, great show. Thank you for being a part of it. Dennis and other folks here on the chat, Michael and Justin and Joey, all you guys out there. Thanks from Korea as well, Michael. Appreciate you being here. I don't know what time it is there. I'm guessing it's 13 hours difference, 12 hours difference. Thank you again. Have a great morning. We'll see you next time. We'll see you actually here in about an hour. Have a great one. Bye.
Hello, my name is Christy Kester. As a public educator for the past 24 years, I have watched as interest in esports has exploded in schools across the world. Last fall, I joined the High School Esports League and helped to establish the education department. Since then, we have been working hard to integrate esports into education to create a scholastic gaming experience where students can learn, play, and compete. With our evidence-based, STEM.org-approved gaming concepts curriculum, schools can offer 4-credit classes during the school day that help improve chronic absenteeism, student engagement, and mental health.
As a senior health advisor for High School Esports League and a former ER physician, I see the incredible need for supporting mental health in students in today's schools. In fact, schools at a formidable crossroads where a pervasive and persistent decline in youth mental health now intersects with staff burnout. This has not been a sudden problem, but rather one we've seen over decades. The American Academy of Pediatrics announced in 2019 that 1 out of 3 students meets the criteria for generalized anxiety disorder before graduation. And the CDC reaffirmed that between 2009 and 2019, 2019, depression increased in adolescents by roughly 40%. The most telltale sign that grabbed all of our hearts was when the Surgeon General announced in December of 2021 that female adolescents increased their visits to the emergency departments around the nation by 51% for suicidal ideations. In the face of this, schools are desperately seeking solutions and ways to support those that struggle with mental health challenges. Now, these statistics that I mentioned are averages. We know there are some cohorts that are at higher risk, particularly those students who do not feel they have a safe place or a legitimate connection to school. That's where esports represents a tremendous opportunity. Students who are not currently involved with sports, music, arts, and traditional extracurriculars are left with minimal opportunities to make a connection. Yet many of these students find connections to their friends and other social outlets through online activity, including gaming. So, Scholastic Gaming represents an opportunity to leverage an area of interest into a legitimate class that meets state standards and expectations, all through an evidence-based curriculum that can simultaneously support self-esteem, self-efficacy, and life skills in many kids who desperately need it.
Hi, my name is Michael Russell. During my career as a teacher, I was fortunate enough to have the support of my administrator as I began the journey to establish the first 4-credit Scholastic Gaming course in the nation. At HSEO, we have the resources and data to help you speak with your administrators about the impact that Scholastic Gaming and esports can have for your students. We have strategies that can help you with acquiring technology and curriculum, such as ESSER funds, grant applications, and partnerships. The High School Esports League has invested significant resources in helping our education partners, and we are excited about this opportunity to help you establish Scholastic Gaming in your school.
Life is busy. Every day we ask questions like, what's happening today? What should I wear? How am I going to fit everything in? But then there are bigger questions like, why am I here? What's my purpose? Where am I heading? Is there more to life than this? These are some of life's big questions, but there's rarely enough time to think them through. That's why Alpha exists. Alpha is a place to explore life's big questions in a safe and open environment. It's a series of sessions where anyone can share their thoughts and opinions and ask questions without feeling judged. When you come to an alpha, you'll notice that first, there's food. Whether it's a full meal or a light snack, this is the time to get to know each other in a casual setting. Next, you'll watch an alpha talk. The talks are created to engage and spark conversation. They explore big issues around faith from a Christian perspective. After the talk is a time for discussion. This is the most essential part of any alpha. It allows everyone to share their own opinions on the ideas presented in the talks. It's a time for people with different thoughts, beliefs, and experiences to ask honest questions and have open conversation. Every week, there are guests coming for the first time to an alpha in their community. Alpha is for everyone, regardless of background or beliefs. There's no pressure, no follow-up, and it's completely free to attend. Come and explore life's big questions. Find an alpha near you today.